A very good evening and welcome to this weekend's edition of Primetime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Mariam Ganavijaya.
And I'm Disal Kapuge for News First, where we are and always will be with the people. Before we take a look at the stories in detail, let's first cross over to the headlines.
Samurdhi beneficiaries who were dropped from the Aswasama program continue to protest. The time period granted to submit appeals extended till the 10th of July. SLPP's stance regarding the Samurdhi benefit.
Samurdhi pathata kelinna haduwadin edada parliamentuwe nobiyawabi hitagannawa kiyana karanawa පැහැදිලිව මතක් කරනවා.
23 fatalities in 44 shootings reported throughout the year. Another shooting reported from Kalaniya. What happened to the project to distribute tabs? A discussion at the Committee on Public Accounts. Number of Sri Lankans who migrated rise.
Starting off with some news that came in just this evening regarding the debt restructuring program of the government.
Now, the Governor of the Central Bank, Professor Nandalal Veerasinghe, spoke about the reasons as to why they declared the 30th of this month as a bank holiday at a media briefing held this evening.
So the main reason for this 30th of bank holiday announcement was to create a sufficient number of days for domestic debt optimization strategy that has been discussing with the Central Bank and the Minister of Finance. That strategy has to be announced, implemented and obtain the proper approval process from the Cabinet, committees in the Parliament and also the Parliament debate. So that process requires about at least 4 days continuously. During the days, markets, especially debt market and equity market, should not function because those information are very market sensitive. It would be best that if those proposals are discussed in the public when those markets are sensitive markets not functioning. So while announcing that, we also would like to announce that even though 30th is a bank holiday, all the banking activities that can be done during the period of holidays, for example, online banking, internet banking, ATM withdrawals and fund transfers among accounts with the technology that can be done with banks physically opening or not. I must also announce that this domestic debt optimization strategy that has been suggested in consultation with the Central Bank and the Minister of Finance would not anyway have an adverse impact on bank deposits in terms of there will be no reduction in deposits, bank deposits that people are having with commercial banks and non-bank institutions. There will be no reduction in interest rates that they are right now contracted and enjoying, that they are getting in terms of their contracts and fixed deposits or any other deposits. Banks, if they are agree to give some interest rates, this will continue to be received by for public deposits, and deposit holders will not be affected adversely anyway with the announcement of domestic debt strategy.
The time period granted for families who were not included in the Aswasama Welfare Benefit Program to submit appeals has been extended till the 10th of July.
Now, some of the beneficiaries who were not selected for the Aswasama Welfare Benefit Program continue to protest in several parts of Sri Lanka, while several other stakeholders expressed their views about the situation. A group of Samurdhi beneficiaries who did not qualify for the Aswasama program staged a protest in Arachikatuwa, Shilau today. Samurdhi beneficiaries from Bangadeniya in Arachikatuwa and Veerakuman Baluwa participated in the protest.
ඉන්න මම මහරගම යන්න ඕනේ සතුටකින් එකට මගේ පුතේ නැවත ලබා ගන්න කියලා තමයි මම ඉල්ලන්නේ. මුන් බෙල්ල කැපුවා වගේ එකපාරටම කැපුවා අපි ණය අරගෙන තියෙනවා. අපි කොහෙන්ද මහත්තයා ගෙවා ගන්නෙ? සමීක්ෂණයක් කරේ තියෙන මිනිස්සුන්ගෙන් දුප්පත් මිනිස්සුන්ට දෙන්නනේ. ඒ වුණාට දැන් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන දේ අනුව දුප්පත් මිනිස්සුන් අයින් වෙලා සල්ලි තියෙන මිනිහටමනේ මේ දේ ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ.
A protest was held at the Koskoda town against the slashing of Samurdhi beneficiaries.
ආණ්ඩුව ගත්ත වැරදි තීරණ අපි
කියන්න කෙනෙක් නැහැ. අපි ඒක නිසා කියනවා මේ සභාධර්ම ඉන්න දේවරුන්ට මේවට හමුකම් දීලා මේව කරන්න. ඒ වගේම තමයි මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් අපිට කතා කරන්න තිබුණේ මාධ්‍ය විතරයි. අද මාධ්‍යල් ලොක් කරන හදලා. ඒක නිසා අපිට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ දෙයියන්ට පමණයි. උඩ ඉන්න දෙයියන්ට විතරයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. අනේ දෙවියනේ විවිධ විදියටම සමුද්‍ය ලබා දෙන්න කියලා.
The time period granted for families who were not included in the Aswasuma program to submit appeals has been extended till the 10th of July. Attending the Sita Waka coordination meeting, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said, no person with a low income or suffering from various diseases will be allowed to lose the benefit. The Prime Minister invited all parties to work together to include low-income families in the program. A special hotline number was introduced to obtain information for appeals of people who have lost welfare benefits under the Aswasuma welfare program. State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe said information can be obtained from the hotline 1924. To date, 17,000 appeals have been submitted to the Sri Lanka Social Security Board. The All Island United Samudhi Development Officers Society commented on the Aswasuma program at a media conference today.
State Minister Shehan Semasinghe has been behaving very arrogantly in front of the media. You are the former subject minister. You are a minister who is trying to throw sand into the rice bowls of the people. You have an aim that the president does not have, and that aim is to cause disruptions in the country. We are ready to take this up with the president after his overseas tour. We can clearly see that you cannot do this. The government has messed up. But if you are attempting to use the helplessness of the people to secure votes in the next election, we would like to say that you have made a mistake. You have done this alone and messed it up. You are playing with the 1,500 rupees that these people get every month. You should be ashamed of yourself for what you are doing to these helpless people. When we met the president on the 14th, we told him that this was wrong and advised him against releasing it. What has happened now? The entire country is in chaos. On this list, there are those who draw a pension, there are government sector employees, there are people who own vehicles, and there are people who have millions in income. This has also been divided into 4 sectors: extremely poor, poor, and have been given time periods of 6 months and 9 months. People who are in extreme poverty only get this benefit for 6 months. They have messed up all of this. We are ashamed to say that State Minister Semasinghe, who was the State Minister in charge of Samurdhi for so long, lied to the President in his pursuit of getting a ministerial portfolio and is now blaming us, saying that we should be held responsible for this situation.
The collective of Samudhi trade unions also expressed their views regarding the matter.
This social welfare program was introduced for a political need. That move has now come back to haunt the government. The government has no way to escape this. We request the general public to intervene to help address the issue in this program, properly identify helpless people and provide the social security benefit to them.
Meanwhile, Samagi Janabalawege MP Dr. Harsha De Silva says there is serious doubt regarding the data gathered by the government for the Aswasuma project.
If there are 10 people suffering from extreme poverty, only 4 out of that 10 have received Samurdhi benefits. 6 of them had not received them due to political reasons. There is a doubt as to if they picked the most suitable people. The Learn Asia Institute says that the number of people in poverty that was 3 million has now become 7 million. If the Aswasuma program is being granted to 1.5 million people, there is a huge gap there. This means there is major doubt as to the methods employed to gather data for this project.
Samagi Janabalawege MP SM Marikar said the Aswasuma project is meant to blind the people.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is deceiving the people. He is presenting Aswasuma. Remember, if you receive the Samurdhi, you continue to get it every month. Aswasuma is meant to blind the people. He can provide it for a month or 2 and then stop it whenever he wants. We are strongly against this attempt to make the people's troubles worse by fooling them.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Thissa Kuttiarachi expressed his opinion about the Aswasuma program at the SLPP Balamandala meeting in Divulapitiya today.
We were wrong. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa failed us as a party and he failed us politically. President Gotabaya made the mistake from the fertilizer. We did not bring President Ranil to make the same mistakes as Gotabaya. This is a clear reminder that we will stand fearlessly in Parliament if he tries to deny Samurdhi to our innocent people. We request the President not to interfere in this matter.
The Thissa Maharama Balamandala meeting of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana was held today.
MPs and ministers of the SLPP along with former Minister Chamal Rajapaksa attended the event.
I would like to remind the fact that if someone like Chamal Rajapaksa, who is an experienced politician, contested the 2019 election, this could not have happened. We had certain disagreements with Ranil Wickremesinghe, but as a party, we appointed him as the president.
They set our houses on fire on the 9th of May last year. They burnt your houses as well. Things like that are a given when it comes to politics. We are ready to accept it. It is not our policy to spew hate towards them. Do not hate them. We have the strength to strike even when they are striking. We have not lost that ability.
Executive Committee member of the Jatika Janabala Vegaya, Samantha Vidyaratna, expressed his views regarding the current situation in the country at the party's Balamandala meeting in Harispattu held yesterday.
The Rajapaksas and the Wickremesinghes have taken the country into the dragon's mouth. The main thing that needs to be restructured in this country is the political system. And I don't mean temporary solutions. We need deep structural solutions. If children are suffering from malnutrition, if they don't receive proper education, if businesses are failing, if people can't eat 3 meals a day, if unemployment is through the roof, if professionals are leaving the country, if the hospitals are short on medicines, how much worse can it get? The Aragalaya came and the crisis was seen. But some people are still trying to make it out that there is no such crisis. We clearly state that the present crisis is worse than the previous one. You need to understand that the brain drain, where professionals are leaving the country in massive groups, is worse than the fuel queues we saw. The present crisis is one that affects our minds and is not as obvious as it used to be.
The Immigration and Immigration Department said that 911,689 passports were issued in 2022. This data was released in the department's annual performance report, which was released recently. The Department of Immigration and Immigration said that the highest number of passports issued in the last 5 years was in the year 2022. The department said that 529,138 additional passports were issued in 2022 compared to 2021. Last year, the number of people who left the country from the BIA stood at 2,018,066. Among them, 1,124,022 are Sri Lankans and 864,648 are foreigners. 7,166 individuals had obtained dual citizenship last year.
News first with the people.
In news-making headlines this evening, details regarding the program to distribute tabs among school students and teachers was discussed at the Committee on Public Accounts recently.
We have spent 3.4 billion rupees to purchase 96,919 tabs and 93,027 charge points. It was to be distributed among 124 national schools and 1,217 provincial schools. The tabs were distributed among students from grade 6 to grade 11. The tabs were purchased for advanced level students, but these tabs were distributed among 93,027 students from grade 6 to grade 11 at 184 schools after the warranty period had expired. 3,892 tabs were given to other state institutions. The records of a large number of these tabs cannot be found. Therefore, the entire 3 billion was a wasteful expense. The students from grade 6 to 11 who were given these tabs also can't do anything with these tabs. There is no idea of what could be done with these tabs.
The proposal was to give these tabs to advanced level students. It was the expert committee that proposed for these tabs to be given to students from grade 6 to 11 to reduce the disparity among children in school with low resources.
බෙදන අවස්ථාව වෙනකොට කාලයකුත් වෙලා තිබුණේ නැහැ.
At the time they were distributed, the time prior had not expired. 83,086 students have been given these tabs, while tabs have been distributed among 9,941 teachers. The remaining 3,883 tabs were given to the Department of Examination for those under the E-Taksalava program and science faculty.
විද්‍යාපීඨ සඳහාත් බෙදලා තියෙනවා.
දැන් ළමයි පාවිච්චි කරනවද? එතකොට ගුරුවරු පාවිච්චි කරනවද?
මොනවාටද පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ? දැන් ඒකට මොඩියුල්ස් තියෙනවද ඔක හදපු ඒවා?
ගිය අවුරුද්දේ වෙනකොට එහෙම එකක් තිබුණේ.
Since there were no modules last year, we have prepared modules and sent them to schools this year. We prepared a special program to provide training.
අවලියට යොදවන්න ගුරු පුහුණුවක් සැලස් කරා.
විද්‍යාපීඨවලට දීලා තියෙනවා 2233ක් පරිගණක.
2,233 tabs were given to science faculties, but many of these faculties were used as corona prevention centers. The army and health sector had taken 983 tabs to be used at these centers. 72 of these tabs had not been returned and several of them are no longer working.
නැවත බාර දීලා නැහැ. කීපයක් අක්‍රියයි.
Do you remember? News First on several occasions revealed details about the program in 2017 to distribute tabs among school students and teachers. The reports highlighted issues in the procurement of tabs, the failure to distribute them among school students on time, and the absence of any program to provide education using the tabs. The incident was investigated by a special presidential commission. Although students must be educated on technology to face the challenges of the modern world, it is regretful that our leaders failed to implement a proper program to provide students of Sri Lanka with this knowledge. Meanwhile, the Ceylon Teachers Union state that action should be taken against those responsible for the irregularities in the TAB project.
We have not seen any result from this project. They should have just pretended to speak about clean governance in front of the people of the country. What is necessary is to take action. Who did this and what did they gain from this project? Necessary actions should be taken to punish those responsible during the tenure of this government.
Three people were injured in a shooting at Dippitigoda in Kalaniya this evening. Police said the shooting was carried out by two gunmen travelling on a motorbike. Further investigations are underway to arrest the suspect who fled the scene. A three-wheeler driver was also shot and killed in Ambalanguda yesterday.
Crime Watch.
The shooting was reported along the Gaul Road near Dharmashoka College in Ambalanguda. Police said a motorcycle gunman had shot the three-wheeler driver and fled the scene. The victim was a 54-year-old resident of Randumbe, Ambalanguda. Police suspect that a pistol was used for the shooting. The magisterial inquest was conducted on Saturday night and the victim's remains were placed at the Balapitiya Base Hospital for the post-mortem examination.
It was reported that several people were in the three-wheeler and they fled. Investigations are being carried out by the Ambalanguda police station.
Speaking during a media briefing on Sunday, police spokesperson Attorney SSP Nihal Talduwa said 43 shootings were reported this year.
Crime Watch.
Sri Lanka says it is deeply concerned about the spread of terrorist organizations and the rise in terrorist networks worldwide. Speaking at the 82nd plenary meeting on global counter-terrorism strategy, permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations Mohan Piri stressed the importance of adhering strictly to the UN Charter and other international laws when combating terrorism, whilst being sensitive to the adherence to preserve human rights and the international humanitarian laws.
We as a country are deeply concerned about the spread of terrorist organizations and the rise in terrorist networks worldwide, which directly hinder the global collective efforts to achieve sustainable development and threaten efforts to maintain global peace and security. Sri Lanka is a country that has experienced terrorism for over 30 years, condemns terrorism in all its forms and expressions, regardless of its motivation, and wherever, whenever, and by whomsoever committed. Sri Lanka stresses the importance of adhering strictly to the United Nations Charter and other international laws when combating terrorism, whilst being sensitive to the adherence to the preservation of human rights and of international humanitarian law. The Prevention of Terrorism Act and the Public Security Act in particular provide the framework for national counter-terrorism efforts. However, these laws are currently under review and a possible amendment appropriately so as to ensure that they are consonant with global best practices and international law. Sri Lanka has also been at the forefront of emphasizing the need to address the risks associated with terrorist financing, and in this regard I must make a special mention of the fact that Sri Lanka has implemented a number of legislative measures, including establishing the Financial Intelligence Unit and enacting laws for the prevention of money laundering. As a nation that has dealt with terrorism for nearly 3 decades, and as the only nation to have eradicated terrorism, we reiterate the need to embark on concrete collective measures to counter terrorism.
The Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka claimed that there have been serious and often critical issues which have not been addressed by the management of Sri Lankan Airlines, resulting in the current catastrophic state of affairs. In a statement, the Airlines Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka issued a clarification over the accusations made on the delay of Sri Lankan Airlines flights in the recent past.
Now, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva had recently accused the Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka of refusing to operate a flight after a first officer on duty had fallen ill. Responding to the allegations, the pilots had issued the statement outlining the issues that led to the incident. In a statement, the Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka said that they have been left in the lurch as a result of a spate of decisions by the management of Sri Lankan Airlines compelling them to be overworked. Sri Lankan Airlines requires at least 330 pilots to function in full capacity for the designated flights. However, the statement pointed out that over 70 pilots have resigned from the airline since 2022, with many more resignations pending due to the issues faced by the pilots. This has resulted in a complete depletion of pilots. The severity of the issue was witnessed in the recent incident where there were no pilots on standby to be assigned to a flight which eventually departed more than 12 hours later than the scheduled time of departure. The Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka added that the cadre of pilots, which should ideally be at 330, now only has approximately 250 as a result of the short-sighted, arbitrary and callous decisions of the management. The statement also pointed out that Sri Lankan Airlines pays one of the lowest wages, well below industry standards, to pilots, and prior to June 2023, the pilots were paid their salaries at an arbitrary US dollar which was nearly 40% below the rate of the central bank. This issue took years of union intervention and discussions to resolve. The statement added that today, despite all other departments in the airline being given increments and bonuses, the pilots are yet to receive a substantial part of their contractually due salary package, which was in place before the coronavirus outbreak, despite predictions by the Sri Lankan Airlines CEO promising a profit of $50 million this year. They said that the recent issues regarding flights stem from these actions or inactions of the management itself, to which the management have continuously refused to pay heed to. The statement added that the body has repeatedly raised these concerns, including by the way of litigation, due to the attitude of the management of the airline. The Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka urged that these matters be brought to the notice and the attention of the general public and all stakeholders of the airline in order to facilitate these issues raised being addressed and resolved.
Sri Lanka is set to begin a tea for oil barter with Iran next month.
Sri Lanka is set to begin bartering tea to Iran next month in lieu of $250 million owed for oil, as the country tries to lift sales to a key market and protect its forex reserves. According to a Reuters report, the barter was agreed in 2021 for oil imported in 2012, but the exchange was delayed after Sri Lanka's unprecedented dollar shortage last year plunged the economy into its worst financial crisis in more than several decades. Sri Lanka's tea board said, quote, "The agreement was to send $5 million worth of tea each month for 48 months, but we plan to start with about $2 million per month."
Nadira Shehan of News First won the prize for the best video creation by a professional journalist at the Mojo Lanka competition organized to appreciate mobile and digital journalists for the first time in Sri Lanka.
The event, which was held in Colombo today, was organized by the US Agency for International Development and the IREX Institute. In line with the competition, a special two-day workshop was also held on mobile phone video creation.
Make this story map right away, ladies and gentlemen.
Tools. Yeah. So education to teach people.
News First Nadira Shehan's video titled Kirimama won the award for Best Video in the Professional Journalism category.
Nadira Shehan.
Ne Tundola Elle Kirimama.
ඔහු නමින් කුලතුන්ගේ පියසිරි. ඇල්ල මුරකරුවෙකු ලෙස ඔහු ලබන පත්වීම රාජ්‍ය පත්වීමක් නෙවෙයි. පෞද්ගලික අංශයේ රැකියාවකුත් නෙවෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මාසික වැටුපක්, විශ්‍රාම වැටුපක් මේ මුකුත් නැහැ.
The US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, representatives of the BBC News Service and other dignitaries participated in this. Contestants were evaluated and felicitated under several categories.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for India.
The LGBTQI community in Sri Lanka held a kite festival in Colombo yesterday.
The Rainbow Kite Festival, organized by Equal Ground Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo on Saturday.
The Kite Festival and Pride Party is just a joyous occasion for people to come together for one last time to celebrate, the queer community, the LGBTIQ community in Sri Lanka, and to give them a space where they can be themselves and enjoy themselves without having to look over their shoulders all the time. So we're happy that this is the last event of Pride this year and everything's gone really well.
The Kite Festival concluded with a pride party in support of the LGBTQI community in Sri Lanka.
The Sirsa Ice Cream Carnival was held in Polonnaruwa today. Large crowds gathered at the Rajarata Navodaya ground for the carnival, and popular artists including the Kurunagala Baji Band are performing at the musical show.
The final day of the fifth phase of the Sirsa Ice Cream Carnival is being held today. News First screen tests were also held between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. The Iceland event and magic shows were some of the fun-filled activities that were available for those who attended the carnival.
The French Spring Festival 2023 was held in Colombo on Saturday the 24th, in line with the World Music Day 2023. News First's Theruni reports from the site.
Music, the universal language that bonds nations across the world. I'm at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute, where all preparations have been made for the live music show organized by the Embassy of France to Sri Lanka and the Maldives.
This event is being held to celebrate the International Music Day, which falls on the 21st of June, and in conjunction with the 11th edition of the French Spring Festival.
I find it absolutely amazing. This is just feel like holidays actually. And we were talking about that with the musician before. It's not work tonight. It's just having pleasure and share with people. So I'm just so excited to meet the Sri Lanka public. Absolutely crazy to be able to sing my French song abroad, and so far from home. I could have never imagined to do something like that. So yeah, I'm really grateful and excited for sure.
We are very happy and excited to be able to organize the French Spring Festival. This is the 11th edition, so it's a staple of the Sri Lankan and Colombo musical scene. I think the French Spring Festival covers all kinds of cultural relations. I mean, it is music, but it is also photography, it is also all kinds of events in terms of culture between France and Sri Lanka. And I think this is something people are looking for after a few years of COVID, where it was difficult to develop and to have these relations. People look forward to being able to going out and to have these kind of things.
Je m'attendais pas évidemment qu'on dise comment faire en amour. Depuis que j'essaye d'en faire le tour, je cours à ma folie. Nos rêves, nos chances, c'est l'heure de nos envies. Et qu'elle rêve, et qu'elle danse sur nos peurs, sur les rêves.
In some international developments, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Russia's crisis involving a mercenary group's aborted revolt against the Kremlin exposed what he called real cracks in President Vladimir Putin's authority.
Antony Blinken said the uprising by the private Wagner Group and its mutinous leader over the weekend marked a direct challenge to Putin's authority. He said, quote-unquote, "So this raises profound questions. It shows real cracks." President Putin, in a fiery speech on Saturday, accused the leader of the Wagner Group of treason and vowed to punish the perpetrators, but then accepted an amnesty deal in which Wagner chief would avoid prosecution and leave for neighboring Belarus. Blinken said that Moscow being distracted over the revolt creates an additional advantage for Ukraine in the midst of its counteroffensive against Russian forces.
Now in our sports news, Sri Lanka advanced to the Super 6 stage of the 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier from Group B after Sri Lanka beat Ireland by 133 runs in Bulawayo.
The Ireland captain won the toss and decided to field first in Bulawayo. Sri Lankan openers Pathum Nisanka and Dimuth Karunaratne helped Sri Lanka get off to a flyer before Nisanka fell for 20. Sadira Samarawickrama and Karunaratne kept their foot on the pedal as Sri Lanka's scoring rate went above 6 runs and over. The duo put up a stand of 168 runs, with Samarawickrama scoring 82.
Contribution from him, he's been really busy.
Karunaratne brought up his maiden ODI century and was cleaned up by Markader for 103 shortly after. He also crossed the 1,000-run mark in his ODI career. Sri Lanka were bowled out for 325 in 49.5 overs.
By Ireland, one ball of their innings.
Sri Lankan bowlers put up a strong fight to rip through the Ireland top order, restricting them to 86 for 5.
On to hand. Another wicket for.
Wanindu Hasaranga bagged 5 wickets.
Got him, strikes back.
Done it. Hasaranga has the last.
Accordingly, Sri Lanka make it to the Super 6 stage of the qualifier, while Ireland are out of the World Cup race.
5 for 13.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Mariam Ganujaya.
And I'm Disal Kapuge. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and have a good night.